Okay. Well, thank you all for joining the call today. We did something similar to this, I think, last year, going into market. Just thought it'd be a good idea to reach out as far as the folks that are on the tools, just to kind of review, I guess, some of the information that's available in the tools if you want to put together some type of market prep tool. And as I've said in the past, there's many different ways or different views you could pull in to take a look at as you prepare for market, and you may already have a routine in place. I know some of the folks that are on the tools program, they already have kind of a binder they've put together on their own, utilizing some of the information, leveraging the data from the tools as they get ready for market. So what I'm going to go over today is just one way, or I guess one view of the information. So feel free to use it based on your data as you get ready to go to market. And feel free to stop with any or interrupt me with any questions. I'll try to enlarge this now so we go through this. So starting with the table of contents, in some of these views I've used in the past, but I kind of start with a macro view. What I mean there is it's kind of a high-level view. The first item we look at is a category sales performance versus last year. And what we're doing here is we're using the data from the weekly business scorecard, basically a year-to-date view, and basically look at overall each category's performance compared to last year by location. So this is basically a manual data pool, but using the data from the scorecard, then I generate a graph on that, and I'll show you what that looks like. The second item under the macro view is a category return on investment. So for the most part, this market prep tool is utilizing the sales analysis tool, with the exception of that first item we just discussed. So basically from here on down, everything that I have in the market prep tool is using data from the sales analysis tool. So again, the second item is really trying to understand what categories are working, which ones are maybe not performing as well. So kind of a high-level macro view. And then the third item there under the macro view is basically looking at the last 4 months versus the last year, and basically margin dollars and a margin percent per month. You know, how many margin dollars are being generated per month at the category view and vendor view. And in the parentheses, you'll see below each of these items, I've included the name of the tab that's in the sales analysis tool. So, and I can send this out after the meeting, or if you want to take a screenshot of this, you can do that as well. But this is just the name of the tabs that I'm pulling the data from, and you'll see that as we get into the information. And then basically from there, I get into category level performance. And so I have listed, again, this will vary, business to business or retailer to retailer, but typically we would look at upholstery, motion, bedroom, dining, recliners, occasional, and then mattresses, again, depending on maybe what market it is, whether it's Vegas or High Point, or depending on where you're at with the buying process. And then at each of those categories, I kind of focus on the next level. So the first one there is really trying to understand what vendors are earning their keep on the floor and which ones are not. And I use the vendor floor percent inventory dollar tab to get that information. And the second item is the price point analysis. So really trying to understand what price points are working, which ones are not at the category level. And if you want, you can do that obviously at the vendor view as well, or vendor level, I should say. And then below that, I look at the families. So really, and I'll explain a little bit more how I do this, but just look at the top 10% of families as well as the bottom 10% of families. So there I use the detail by family to tab from the sales analysis tool. Okay. So that's for the category, and then continuing also. So from there, I look at focusing on our top 3 vendors, and again, assuming these vendors are the ones you're going to be visiting at market. So there, I just basically do a view of a top 25 family for the top 3 vendors for each category. And so I get that also from the Detail by Family 2 tab. And then I do a sales trend, so really trying to understand over the last year what does the trend look like for basically vendor sales and then percentage of sales. So basically a market share view by vendor in each of the categories. So I use the sales trend vendor percent tab as well as the sales trend vendor tab. And then the last item I include here is inventory summary by vendor. For example, if I was going to look at upholstery, I'd do a view of all my upholstery vendors just to get an understanding of how much I have in inventory of upholstery on the floor versus warehouse, and what my different inventory turn numbers are by vendor within the upholstery category. So that's the reason why I include that in this view. So essentially, this is all the items that I include in the market prep tool. And there's different ways to do this. As you see here, I'm just using a Word document, and I'm doing a copy, and I'll show you, doing a copy and paste from the sales analysis tool into a Word document. And you can use there's different snippet tools out there, image capture tools to easily copy and paste into a Word document, and then from this you could generate a PDF file if you wanted, or again, there's different ways to do this. So obviously the other thing that I didn't include here that you may obviously want to could include, I should say, is the open to buy overall view for the whole store. Really understanding, do you have an open to buy? Is that green or red? Really from an overall standpoint. So that's the only other thing that would make a mention here that you could possibly include if you wanted in this into this market prep tool. So again, I didn't. You can see I went down to the family level. I really didn't get into the SKU level. That's kind of up to you if you wanted to. I mean, I see that information and data is there in the sales analysis tool. So it's just something you may want to consider including. But again, here for this view, I just went down to the family level. Okay, so that's kind of the table of contents. Again, the information that I have included in this prep tool, and then we'll actually look into the data and type of view. So this is the first item that I was really looking at a macro view, understanding. Sorry, and I can make this a little bit larger, so you can see here. So overall, looking at the categories compared to last year for each of the stores, where you try to understand where we're up, where we're down. As you can see in the Topeka store, several categories are down, and then Olathe looks like mattresses and flooring, which are and actually sales are really flat here in the Olathe store. So those two categories are preventing us really being below last year. So it's just more of kind of an overall big picture standpoint at the store level, understanding what categories are up or down compared to last year. Again, this data is from the scorecard, so I just manually took that data and put it into this bar chart here. So just kind of a high level view. And then I just left a space, obviously, for any notes you want to take based on that view. And then we get into what I call the category return on investment, really understanding what categories are returning on the investment level. So again, it's a quick review. The blue bar represents the investment level in each of those categories, and then the red bar represents the return on investment based on 120-day margin dollars. So again, in this view, this example data, obviously upholstery and motion are performing well. So those are ones we may want to try to invest more in. Versus if you look at bedroom and dining, those are basically the return is not matching the investment level. So just kind of have that type of information in mind as you're going into market and having that information in front of you. In other words, maybe not look at as many possibly case goods vendors, again, depending on your specific scenario and what your data tells you based on this. So again, just kind of a high level category view, what categories are performing, which ones are not. And again, typically this is what I suggest, looking at these 5 major furniture categories, so upholstery, motion, bedroom, recliners, and dining. Again, you could add in mattresses if you wanted, depending on how important that is to your overall business and mix. Okay. And then from there, look at two additional views. This is the one on the chart on the left is the 120-day versus 365-day margin dollars per month. So again, how much margin dollars are being generated per month for each category. Again, really kind of a high-level view, understanding what does the most recent period look like compared to the overall last year, and do we see any general trends? Do we see basically an increase across the board in several categories, or just one standout? So the chart on the left here, you say that mattresses are up. The other categories are pretty flat, looking at the last 4 months versus last year. And then the chart on the right is just overall margin percent by category. Again, really understanding, is there any trend you see higher, lower margin in, for example, upholstery in the last 4 months versus the last year. Okay, so again, just high-level view at the category, basically category view. And then you get just some space there if you want to jot any notes as you're going through market, as you're preparing, going through your own data, getting ready to go to market. And this is a view of the vendor performance last 4 months versus last year. Again, this view is basically pulling all categories together, so we're not necessarily narrowing it down to any one category. This is all categories included. So again, understanding what vendors are working really in the last 4 months. Are they up in margin dollars? Are they up in margin percent in the last 4 months versus last year? Okay, that's the 120 versus 365-day view. And then giving space for notes. And then this is really when we get into the category level information. So again, for this webinar today, I just focus on upholstery. Basically, you could pull the same views in for the other categories such as motion, recliners, etc. But this is we'll start with upholstery. So again, really, the point is trying to understand what vendors are earning their keep on the floor and which ones are not, based on this view. So obviously, this example would say that Ashley's doing very well. The return is higher than investment level. So basically, over 25% of our floor inventory is in Ashley. 20% is invested in Ashley, but it's returning over 25% or over a quarter of the margin dollars. Smith Brothers, the second one, is also overperforming, whereas Flex Steel is slightly underperforming. So just having that awareness and information in front of you as you maybe have a target showroom list that you're going to go visit at market, really understanding what does the last 4 months look like for each of the vendors that I'm going to visit their showroom, based on how much I have on the floor versus margin dollars. Okay. And then a section there for notes. And then we get into price points. So again, this is just looking at the upholstery category. And the point with this is really, again, as you know, as you look at your own data, the blue bar represents how you have your showroom merchandise based on price points. So one is you want to see, is there any gaps in price points? In other words, is there maybe a price point where you don't have anything priced, and basically you wouldn't see any blue bars. In this case, you can see we have pretty much things priced from $2.99 up to $28.99. A little bit more higher mix in the $4.99 to $6.99, and then the second. The second area is looking at what percentage of sales at each of those price points. So really understanding how the customers are voting, which price points are they voting on. Again, this is just looking at upholstery category, so that you can definitely see the sweet spot is in that $5.99, $6.99, $7.99 range. So the point with having this information, maybe understanding what vendors are at those price points, and maybe possibly looking at another vendor or an existing vendor that you already work with, maybe has a new product in that that you could retail in that price point. So that's the point in looking at or including this type of view within this market prep tool. Okay. And then we have additional notes here. And then this is getting into the detail by family view. So it may be a little hard to read based on how I did the copy and paste. So what I did here is, again, looking at upholstery. So this is in the detail by family view. You can see in the upper left for category summary, I selected upholstery. And so again, that brings up basically a list of all your families sorted by 128 margin dollars. So for upholstery, basically I went in and counted the total, did a total number of upholstery families that I had, and call it up, say there's 100 families. So from there, basically I'm looking at top 10%. So I would list basically 10 families at the top, and then I also want to understand what my bottom 10 families are as well. So possibly understand, one, do I have any bottom 10 families that are on the floor? If I do, I need to try to move those out quickly because it's not generating margin dollars. And then also understanding from a vendor standpoint, what does the mix look like at the top? Is it heavily maybe Flex Steel or Ashley or another vendor based on your operation? So again, I just did a copy and paste and really understanding. Again, you can choose if you wanted to turn the picture filter on for this as you go into market. I just turn it off because I see the pictures take up more room, so that's kind of up to you. And again, you could do top 5%, bottom 5. Again, that's just somewhat arbitrary, but again, to try to understand what families are working based on the top 10%, and then also understand the ones at the bottom as well, and have that in mind as you go into the different vendor showrooms. Maybe have that list. Okay. So so it's the top 10 families here on this view, and then the way I did that, I just within I don't have the sales analysis tool open here, but within that view, I just put a you can see highlighting green there, just color that cell in. So that says just an identifier for myself. That's the bottom of the top 10 list. And then all the other rows in between, I just hid those rows, and then I put in basically a red bar highlighting this is the beginning of the bottom 10. Again, there's different ways to do it. Just a way to identify the list of bottom 10 families. Okay. So again, this is for all vendors, but just looking at the upholstery category. Okay. And then from there, basically looking at the top families for the top 3 upholstery vendors. So this is probably a good recommendation depending on what showrooms you're going to visit at market, just having this type of view available. Say if you're going to go into Ashley showroom or Flex Steel, et cetera. Again, depending on what your top vendors are, just having that information available and understanding which ones are really performing over the last 4 months based on 120-day margin dollars. So again, you can see just selecting upholstery for the category summary filter, and then Ashley for the vendor ID. So just looking at the top Ashley families for stationary upholstery. And here I did 25, the top 25. I didn't look at necessarily the bottom 10. That's another variation you could do. Include a top 10% Ashley and a bottom 10% Ashley just within upholstery. Okay. And then next to vendors, just looking at Flex Steel. So same thing, looking at a view of the top 25 families. If I was going to go into the Flex Steel showroom, just having that information and knowledge, understanding what families are really generating the margin dollars for the business, and what families are working. And then the last one is the Smith Brothers. Again, we private label Smith Brothers Kirkwood, so that's why you see the KRK at the bottom there for the family naming. But again, just understanding if I was going into the Smith Brothers doesn't have a showroom, but it's probably not a good example. But if Smith Brothers had a showroom, again, understanding what families are performing based on 120-day margin dollars. Okay. And then the last view I have is second to last is the sales trends by vendor. So this is on those tabs towards the right within the sales analysis tool. So looking at sales trend by vendor, looking at both dollars and percentage. So again, we're looking at overall upholstery category. Again, looking at general trends over the last year. So for the most part, we had looking at the last 4 months at the family level. This gives you a view at the vendor level, but really looking over a longer period of time over the last year. So do you see any specific trends within a vendor? And again, we graph out the top 5 to help try to visualize that for you. So I not only included, you can see here the table, but I also included the graph showing the top 5. And then the next group is at the basically on a percentage of sales standpoint. So still looking at upholstery, and then just looking at the percentage of sales. So this is what I kind of view as a market share view. So looking at stationary upholstery, what does the market share for each of the vendors looks like as far as the top vendors within the upholstery category? And again, what does the trends look like? Is it trending up or down over the last year? So again, just having that awareness of and information available to you. And then the last view is the inventory sum tab, or basically information from the inventory sum. So this is, again, still staying with the stationary upholstery. Just having an understanding of each vendor, how much inventory I have on the floor at each location, as well as how much is in the warehouse. And obviously track sales over the last 365 and understanding inventory turns information as well. So what vendors are really turning, which ones have higher turns, lower turns, and some of that's within upholstery is going to be driven by the amount of special order business you do as well. But again, just having that information available to you as you go into to market. So I think that's the last few again. So I would basically just repeat the same level of information that I did for upholstery for the other categories, recliners, occasional, etc. So again, like I said up front, there's different ways to do this, different views you could include. This is just one way of doing it. So again, I thought it was good timing, especially as people get ready to go to market, to just try to keep this top of mind and really try to, if you can, leverage as much information that you can from the existing tools, specifically the sales analysis tool, really from a merchandising standpoint. So I think that's all I had. Does anyone have any questions?
I do have a question for the technically challenged. Can you walk me through what you're using to cut and paste from?
Yeah, it's this. I can send you the software tool. It's this little snipping tool, and I can send you the how to download it and everything. But it's easy to use. I just do if this is within your sales analysis tool, just drag a box and do copy and then paste wherever you want into a document. So I'm just using a Word document to paste it into, but the actual tool is the snipping tool. If you do a direct copy and paste from the sales analysis tool, a lot of those pictures and images are a large size. So what happens is your Word doc just blows up in size. So that's what and as long as you can see it's a little. I have a smaller font here, but as long as you can you can read it when you print it out. I mean, that's the important part of it, to be able to read that information. But I can send you the name of the tool after the call today, Matt.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Can you do that for all of us, Brian?
Sure. Yep, I'll do that.
One of the things I saw was the lineup status in one of the reports, and I've seen that, but we don't have anything in there. How do you get information in there?
Yeah, so what we have a few clients using it. Basically, obviously, we start out using it for our business, but the point is really to understand, really from a style or vignette standpoint, what we have. But what this requires is a separate spreadsheet that you would track on your end. and we would basically pull that information into your sales analysis tool, and it would populate within that lineup status column. So I will say it does require some upkeep and maintenance on your end, but that's definitely something we could set up. Basically, it's a separate template that you would fill out, and then we would be able to pull that into your sales analysis tool.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful for us. Just trying to remember the numbers of every suit is tough.
Yep. Okay. I'll make a note, Larry.
Okay.
And send you some info. Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, good luck at market, and appreciate your time. And if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me after the call today or anytime.
Very good, Ray. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.